Hello, friends, and thanks for hanging out with us today on the Market Report on Cointelegraph. I'm your host, Benton, and we are joined again by our resident experts, Jordan Finiseth, Marcel Peckman, and Sam Borgi. For those who don't know Jordan, he uses his background in psychology and human behavior to spot emerging trends in the crypto markets. Sam Borgi is a business editor at Cointelegraph, where he brings a decade of experience in economic analysis and financial markets writing. Marcel Peckman applies his 17 years of experience trading derivatives. That's right, 17 years, options and futures to the crypto derivatives markets. Fellas, we're back at 42K. Bitcoin is back. What do you think? How are we feeling this week? What's going on?
Well, I can start here from my own opinion. I still think that people are saying, well, Bitcoin and cryptos did not succeed because we have inflation of highest level in 40 years, and yet Bitcoin is stuck at $40,000. Dude, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we were stuck below $20,000. We're now at 40. So how is this not as successful?
And just two
That's a
years
great
ago,
point.
we were actually like down by like $3,000 in March of 2020. So like we've come so far in the last 2 years. I know it's looking bullish now. Hopefully, we don't just kind of revert back down into this trading range we've been stuck into for a couple of months. But I'm feeling good about the market. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, considering everything going on right now, the fact that we made a low around 33 and we managed to recover, I think that's a very good sign. I think we're primed for a positive spring season, given the massive downtrend that we had for several months. I think we're overdue. Whether that actually leads into the resumption of the bull market is a separate question. But right now, things seem to be cautiously optimistic, if not relatively stable from a volatility perspective.
That's something I always like to remind folks is that the year over year lows for Bitcoin have continued to go higher over its history. I think there was one year where it did go lower, but zoom out, folks, zoom out. We're doing just great. Today's show, we're going to be bringing you some of the top coins to buy during the bear market. Really excited to talk to Marcel about his takes about what's happening with Bitcoin and Ethereum and what some of these professional traders are doing and what you should be doing when you're assessing some of your trades for the Bitcoin and Ethereum markets. Folks, if you haven't liked and subscribed, go ahead and do so. We're going to be giving away that 1 month subscription of Markets Pro. We appreciate everyone for tuning in from around the globe. I see we have some old friends here. We have Marcin, Vivek. Where are you at, man? Make sure you're saying hello today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and for those listeners that and audience members that are here every week. We love you all. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget, drop your Twitter handle in the chat today for your chance to win that 1 month subscription to Markets Pro. We're going to be giving that away at the end of the show. And we're going to be doing that poll at the end of the show as well, so you can vote on which coins you think you should be getting into. But first, we have the weekly roundup for you about some of the biggest headlines inside of the crypto Twitter sphere. Danila, why don't we jump into that first and catch some of the biggest headlines for this week? thought one of the funniest headlines out of that was the Charles Hoskins performance of being the same as long. They should probably
I'd say
write
the
a
same
paper
thing,
about
man.
it. That's probably what they should do. Sorry, I digress. Folks, Marcel's got some hot topics to get into this week about what you should be looking for. So, Marcel, I'm going to let you take it away here, and you're going to give us the good nuggets for this week. Why don't we go ahead and jump into that?
Okay, Benton. So first of all, Cardano is peer reviewed, so it's safe. You can buy it. Come on, dude. Now moving on to Bitcoin and Ethereum, it seems that we've moved above $42,000. But is the neutral to bearish sentiment from last week? Is it gone? Is it vanished? Are we flipping bullish? What's happening on here? So people tend to mix up an altcoin rally with bullishness, but they're not the same. I'm gonna show you a screen to prove that. Danilo, can you share my screen, please? So basically here, you have Bitcoin in dollar terms, the blue line here, and on the left, the orange line, you have Bitcoin dominance. And yes, you can see we had an altcoin rally with the Bitcoin dominance plunging from 47 to 42% in October and November last year. And yes, Bitcoin stood at $62,000 while the altcoins rallied. But 2 months later, in November and December, the Bitcoin dominance plunged again from 44% to 41%. But the broader market, Bitcoin and altcoins, they plunged. So we had a bear market despite an altcoin rally or Bitcoin losing dominance. So thank you, Danilo. So to understand whether traders are bullish, I like to monitor two important metrics. So the first one is the futures markets premium, also known as basis rate. So when traders postpone their settlement by trading futures, especially the quarterly ones, which expire on March, on June, on September, on December, they require a compensation for that, for holding the money on exchange. So usually, those fixed calendar futures should trade at a 5 to 12% annualized premium. So pretty much similar to a stablecoin deposit. So if I'm postponing a trade, I want higher money for that. So Danilo, can you share my screen again, please? So this is the futures derivatives contracts premium analyzed here, and you can see here that earlier in the year the premium held above 9%, which sounds slightly bullish, but over the course of January and February this indicator plunged below 5%, indicating bearishness from professional traders. And despite the price improvement over the last 24 hours, or even the 13% gain in 10 days, we don't see this indicator, the futures premium, going above 5%. So these professional traders are still fearing of the market downside. Thank you, Danilo. So moving on to the next indicator, I'm going to show you guys that. You have a question, Benton?
Well, yeah. I did want to jump in here with something. I guess so. With this information, like, what would signal to professional traders that, other than kind of looking at like BTC annualized basic 3 months, that chart you just had up, what might signal that there is some sort of bullish sentiment? I know this is a very kind of small scale that we just looked at, but what would tell you, hey, we're going to be heading into bearish or bullish territory?
Okay, Benton. So even if that chart alone flipped to a 10% premium indicating bullishness, I would still like to watch some confirmation either on options markets or the retail traders futures indicators. So if it's just one indicator out of 4 or 5, I'm not flipping bullish. So what I need to do, what I need to watch and interpret, is a change in 3 or 4 indicators from neutral to bullish. Then yes, I'm flipping my mind bullish for that. But a single indicator, no, I'm not changing.
Yeah, makes sense.
So that's why I want to show you another indicator that I use. It's margin trade from OKX. So margin trade instead of futures trading. You either loan, you either borrow Tether. So if you get Tether on your account, you can buy cryptos, and this indicator will shift up. But you can also borrow BTC. And when you borrow BTC, it means that you're going to short the market, so bet on the downside. So whenever this indicator goes up, means that traders, professional traders, are getting more bullish. When this indicator moves down, it means they're borrowing more Bitcoin, so getting more bearish. And as you can see here over the past 3 days, unfortunately, those professional traders got slightly more bearish.
Interesting. Very fascinating stuff. So I mean, looking at that chart, it's like telling me we are still bearish territory, even though we had that uptick in the other ratios. What is your overall thoughts on where we are right now?
Wait. The chart I just showed has a 7% more demand for Tether borrowing. It means they're still bullish, but the lowest levels in 2 weeks. So despite the price improvement, they did not become more bullish. Just the opposite.
I see.
In that earlier
Makes
chart
sense.
you showed with the BTC dominance, it showed that it was kind of going up and maybe kind of pulling back. Do you think it's going to go up more, or do you think we might see that altcoin rally and the Bitcoin dominance pull back? I don't know. It just seems like it's kind of cycling a little bit.
Yeah, seems like altcoins are going to continue to rally because whenever market Bitcoin goes sideways, a range from 38 to 42, $43,000, those altcoin traders get more confident that an incoming crash is not happening. So yeah, I want further risk. If the market goes up to 48,000, then I want a higher exposure. I want to higher gains on altcoins. They get confident when that happens. So yeah, Bitcoin dominance should be going down.
Marcel, if we were really in a bullish trend, and I'm not saying that's what you said, but for me, what I look at, I say, usually Bitcoin's dominance rises even higher before the altcoins begin to catch up. So if we start to see altcoins eat away into Bitcoin's market share now, it kind of leads me to be a little bit more skeptical about the veracity of a bullish reversal, because we usually like to see a big move in Bitcoin first, followed by the alts, right?
Not necessarily, Sam. We've seen a couple of rallies led mostly by Ethereum, but also by Litecoin and some OG altcoins. We've seen that happening in the past. But yes, when you talk about moving from $1.9 trillion market cap to 3 trillion, like a 50% increase, yes, we need Bitcoin to be leading the rally. But if it's a mere 20% increase, altcoins can go first.
Very interesting stuff. So real quick, I heard today someone speculating about how gaming could potentially one day lead and be the catalyst for why we would have the next bull run. Marcel, do you hold any kind of weight into that, or is this going to be all traditional markets diving into the crypto space?
I think gaming is a huge industry, and I don't expect my mother or my uncle or my father to lead adoption. I expect my younger nephews and kids aged 10 to 15, when they get money, they will buy in Bitcoins. They will want decentralized games. So yeah, I think that's going to be a huge adoption case for cryptos.
And I see Vikram chiming in here.
Like DeFi summer back in the day, right? GameFi summer. I think we could see that.
And so, Marcel, for those watching today, what are these charts? And I guess, can you give some tips out to folks that are trying to learn how to utilize some of these tools?
Okay, so first of all, don't try to become an expert on 10 different indicators. Bollinger Bands, Ishimoku clouds, Bitcoin futures, OptionsQ. Pick one at a time. Monitor for a month, a couple of months. See if it works to predict the charts that you're looking at. If it doesn't, go to the next one. But don't try to learn many charts and many indicators at the same time. It will only confuse you.
I think you bring up a great point there. It's becoming the master of a few things as opposed to trying to master it all. how many years did it take for you to really feel comfortable navigating using some of these tools?
I would say options markets took me 2 years, for example. Futures a little bit less, 6 months to a year. Technical analysis, chart analysis, I'm still a learner after 5 years.
Mm. Jordan and Sam, any other questions for Marcel today?
No, I think you pretty much covered it.
I mean, just one more, I guess, for all of us. All this excitement around Luna, buying up some Bitcoin and how that's going to impact the price. It seems like people are forgetting that a lot of these purchases will probably happen over the counter, right? It might not have a direct impact on price. So a lot of people are expecting a bullish breakout based on what Luna's doing, or what Terra is doing, which we might have to temper our expectations initially, at least.
Does the guy
Very
have
much so.
$3 billion? Is that true? Luna has $3
I
billion
think it's
spare
higher.
to
I
buy?
think there's more than that, aren't they? Didn't they pledge a lot more than 3 billion?
Something like that. Well,
Yeah.
folks, that was from Marcel today, giving you the knowledge that you need to navigate these waters right now during these times. Is it bullish? Is it bearish? Marcel's got the insights. Thank you, Marcel. Now is time for Sam Borgi to give you his best picks for the tokens you need to keep your eyes on during bear market. I know he's going to be talking to us about a few coins such as Monero, Flux, and Stacks. Danilo, let's go ahead and jump into Sam's segment for today.
All right. Thanks, everyone. So, as Ben mentioned, my picks this week might not be as sexy or as exciting as some of the other picks that we've talked about in previous weeks, but I am going with Monero, Flux, and Stacks as my picks this week. I'm really looking to invest based on themes, and that's why I think these are good picks for a bear market to actually load up more during the bear market. Monero is the most widely known privacy coin. It's a private cryptocurrency that keeps your finances confidential and secure. It's perhaps the most recognizable name in the privacy coin space, having been founded back in 2014. Monero transactions more or less can't be traced, so they offer a truly fungible currency. I just think that privacy-preserving stores of wealth are becoming a lot more important given all that's going on in the world today. We've had a lot of issues with governments that are amid the COVID crisis. A lot of it are called government overreach, perhaps. The idea that we have to sacrifice a significant share of our personal freedoms for security has created a lot of tension in our society. So I think that being able to hold on to some privacy-preserving assets might be beneficial in the future, despite the uncertainty around some of the regulatory issues, which I'm sure we're going to touch upon a little bit later. So Flux is one that you might not have heard of, but Flux is actually based on my investing theme of decentralized cloud infrastructure. I think decentralized cloud infrastructure is going to be huge. If you take a look at what Amazon Web Services, for example, has done, that's a really good proxy of the size of the cloud market. And just an FYI, AWS, Amazon Web Services, is probably Amazon's most lucrative business segment, or one of their most lucrative business segments. So Flux is a decentralized Web3 application and blockchain as a service provider. So it's basically allowing crypto and blockchain projects to stand up their infrastructure on the platform. It's ideal for Web 3.0, which is perhaps one of the biggest themes moving forward in the crypto sector. You have a few major themes. Web3 is a huge component there. So I think Flux is going to be a really important service provider, infrastructure provider over that period. And the third one is Stacks. Stacks is basically, when you hear Stacks, what you should really think about is the financialization of Bitcoin. DeFi, apps, smart contracts are all coming to Bitcoin through Stacks. Apps that are built on the Stacks platform basically have all of Bitcoin's advantages, marketability, and network effects. And as of January of this year, Stacks ecosystem was the #1 Web3 project for Bitcoin, which leads me to believe there's a lot more growth that's going to happen, especially as the demand for Bitcoin as a whole, Bitcoin services, Bitcoin product offerings continues to grow. It already has major partners with DCG-backed, Foundry Digital, Blockdaemon, et cetera. I think if you're looking to try to invest or have access or at least exposure to Bitcoin during a bear market, loading up on STX might not be a bad idea. And that's it for me.
Very interesting today. Now, I know we have a lot of questions for you, Sam. So I don't know who wants to jump in here first. Jordan, Marcel, you guys have questions, or otherwise I do. Go
Well,
ahead,
I
Marcel.
can start here. Thank you, Brandon. So, Sam, considering Canada, Russia, and New Zealand, they put many sanctions against their own citizens, a privacy coin like Monero makes sure sense. But you also spoke about regulation. So some of these privacy coins are being delisted from exchanges. So if the noobs that log in at Coinbase, Kraken, Bitstamp, and whatever, they don't see Monero listed there, how will these coins pump?
Yeah. Well, for me, I'm not looking at it from the perspective of pumping. If that's our benchmark, a privacy coin probably isn't what you want to pick right now. I am trying to invest in a theme that I think could actually gain traction moving forward. They're not listed on the major exchanges, which means that a lot of us crypto enthusiasts are going to have to go deep diving into the various other exchanges that sell these products, right? And that never stops us. So I know that Monero might not be the most accessible given the listings that we saw with it as well as with Zcash. But if we're investing in a major theme that I think privacy or privacy preservation is going to be very important moving forward, I think those of us will be able to do our due diligence and find exchanges somewhat reputable, mainly reputable exchanges that can actually house our Monero holdings.
Jordan, any questions?
Do you think that like Amazon and Google and those types are going to release their own Web3 based cloud storage kind of things that might kind of overshadow proper protocols like Flux, just because they are the leader in that game and they're not going to let their big money cash cows just go out the door?
You know what? That's very possible. Although I think a lot of the detractors for like Ethereum and all that would say, well, why don't you just use AWS for what you're building? Why are you? What's the point of having this whole thing? But I think it's a fair, it's a fair thing to speculate on. We just saw Facebook basically pivot their entire organization towards a crypto-oriented segment, the metaverse. I think you could see more of that coming from Google and from others. If that's the case, you're probably gonna, for a platform like Flux, it might lose market share or not be able to gain as much traction. But right now, to see a platform that's solely dedicated to helping bootstrap or helping blockchain projects get up and running, I think is valuable. Will the big boys eventually try to get that market? Probably, but I think that it has some significant runway to at least gain some decent market share.
All right, Tim. So I do love that you went with the privacy coin because I'm a big fan of privacy coins. So first question, and I do like Flux, and now that I'm thinking of it, and kind of your rundown about where the future is heading towards cloud and decentralization, and then the integration and with DeFi. I guess my questions are around Monero. Monero has been around forever, and to Marcel's point, it's been extremely hard to access. I remember buying some Monero like a couple years ago. It was really tough to find. Why not other maybe more accessible, where they're building like a privacy blockchain? Like, what was the big distinguishing factor? Like, I think of Secret Network, for example. What went into your decision for like a Monero versus kind of like a Secret Network?
Well, for me, Monero, it's like you mentioned, it's the OG. It has perhaps the most market appeal in terms of recognizable privacy names. I think its technology is actually an actual privacy coin. For me, it's Monero and Zcash right now are the more of the gold standard for actual privacy protection. If you take a look at the underlying technology, so for me, if I'm going to be investing in that type of play, if I really want to put some of my marbles in the bag that says privacy is going to be important, it's going to be between Monero and Zcash, just because of the way their technology operates and what they bring. So for me, that's kind of what allowed me to just really stick with the OGs. But that doesn't mean we're not going to see any other uptake for different protocols. But for me right now, Monero is one of the top ones.
Looks like we have a Monero fan. Nightmare K-Hawk is saying that Monero will go up over time. I saw Cal Toro also say he was surprised of how it was undervalued right now. So it seems to like there's a little sentiment out there today that would agree with you.
I think if you take a look at what's happened the past 6 months, the value proposition of something like this actually has gone up, in my opinion.
And it's going to take a while for protocols to launch on Secret. you got to get a whole community to people and transacting on that. So yeah, I think the privacy coins are a good option at this point as far as privacy is concerned, in my opinion.
Very sound picks. I did have questions about stacks, but I know we just ran out of time. Uh, I was going to say something about how aren't they behind Citicoin? Isn't that a thing with stacks?
I'm not quite sure. It could be. I know they have a lot of partnerships, but I
Yeah,
haven't looked into it.
interesting. Great picks today, Sam. Always bringing some very insightful picks, and those that you should probably be on the lookout for during this bear market that we're in, or maybe not in. We'll see. Only time will tell. All right, folks. I'm going to give you some of my picks for this week that you should be looking at during a bear market. Don't give me crap about this first one. So let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, folks, it's that time of week. I'm going to give you my 3 picks. The first one being DAI. Yeah, you might be ask yourself, why a stablecoin, Ben? Well, it's a decentralized stablecoin, and you got to have dry powder during a bear market. So when you're riding that next wave up in the bull market and you want to cash out, go to DAI. It's a multi-collateral stablecoin, which means there's more than one asset backing that actual stablecoin. So it's not a USDC or a USDT where companies are just printing money like the Fed. So that's number one for me. And the reason for that is that when I have this DAI ready to deploy, I'm going to be throwing it into these 2 other assets when it comes to riding out a bear market. My next token that I have for you this week is Tomb. This is a algorithmic stable coin that is pegged to the price of Phantom. Well, why wouldn't I just buy Phantom? Well, in my opinion, there is more staking options during a bear market with Tomb and has not lost its peg significantly. And I believe in the project Tomb.finance. And so for me, I'm looking for staking opportunities during a bear market. And Tomb Finance is one of my biggest bets during a bear market, which is why I selected Tomb. Now, lastly, this one's kind of a little bit of an outlier. For me, it's Sandbox. And I want to pull up a chart here, Danilo, if you wouldn't mind just pulling up my chart for Sandbox. I'm going to walk you guys through this one. Now, Sandbox has proven to be one of the biggest players in the metaverse space. And for me, I'm willing to take this bet now so that when we get through this small bear market into a bull market, I believe that Sandbox will be one of the top winners. They've made partnerships with Adidas, Snoop Dogg, Walking Dead, South China Morning Post. The list goes on and on. I think they're aligning themselves. They're up to something very good. And when it comes to metaverse development, I think they're leading the way. So I want to pull you over to this chart real quick. And the reason for that is I am looking at this right now. We saw the market cycle. When we see this market cycle, we saw the peak. We saw absolute just ripping of volume right here. Now, what I am looking at is this level here, right around 265. For me, this is looking like a support level. The reason for that is we've seen this area before. And so we've seen this bounce here, and we've seen it kind of consolidate right around this price level. So for me, I am looking at allocating to more of my position for a long-term hold with the expectation that during the next bull run, Sandbox will be one of the biggest movers inside of the metaverse space. And so that's why I decided to select Sandbox this week for one of my tokens to hold during a bear market. And guess what? I have 17 seconds left for today. Didn't get cut off. Any questions?
Want to start, Jordan? Okay.
No, you go. Go ahead.
So I totally understand a 10 to 30% exposure on stablecoin. So yeah, you're out of the woods, no problem here. But Phantom faces a lot of competitions from Terra, Avalanche, and Solana. Isn't it easier just to stick with Ethereum in that case?
Hey, that's a great point. For me, I'm looking for the upside potential in the long run, and especially during a bear market. Phantom, I think, will be a top 6 layer 1 chain, but with the Cambrian explosion that we've seen with L1s, there's going to be a consolidation at one point in the future. Whether that means chains buying other chains or chains just simply dying off. I personally believe that Phantom will not be one that particularly dies off because of how it's designed, and therefore I believe in its native token, which is somewhat associated, I guess, with the Tomb token because of the algorithmic peg.
You picked like two stable coins this week, man. It's like, whoa, like how,
Yeah.
oh,
It's
like
technically,
how,
it's technically.
how are you even approach attacking it? But like, I guess it's gonna be coming down to like you mentioned, like my thesis in investing in a bear market is buying an asset that's gonna go up once the bull market starts, not like holding an asset that I'm gonna have to then find another asset to buy once the bull market starts, because then you got FOMO and all that stuff. Like, I know
Mm.
it's just an observation on my point. Like, I prefer to accumulate tokens that are gonna increase in value, but I get the safety for stable coins and having dry powder.
Yeah. I mean,
I
the
was gonna say
memo that I
it's
got
hard to
was
shit on that.
picking staples, you know. Maybe I missed the memo. I thought we weren't picking staples, but nonetheless, they're good picks. I don't really have much comment. I mean, only thing potentially is Sandbox. It's a very competitive space. Sandbox already seen a lot of tremendous gains. Are there any other similar plays that you think might have more upside potential, or are you just trying to go with the blue chip, play right now in the metaverse sector?
Yeah, I think for me, like I felt like Sandbox was super undervalued. I mean, I think the run that it saw earlier this year was way overhyped. Like they didn't have a solid product. I think over the last call it 6 months, there's been a lot of development on platform. If I'm looking in the metaverse space right now, for me it's Decentraland and Sandbox. I also like Blocktopia, but they still don't have their product. It's in kind of like this thesis stage or beta stage. So for me, like I want a company or a product that is on the market. They're showing that they can evolve very quickly. They're forming these massive partnerships. For to me, like that tells me like at one point they're going to be kind of like too big to fail in many ways.
So, Benton, yeah, you just mentioned the importance of having a product out there. But what I think is, for example, play to earn games, they provide an immediate benefit for its users. While on a metaverse, I don't see a real benefit for users. So, would you really carry Sandbox for a 3 or 6 month long positions instead of a play to earn game that's already paying their users?
I mean, you bring up a great point, and I think there are like play to earn integrations with Sandbox, which makes it kind of unique because Sand is like the token that you use inside of that metaverse. So whether you're going to pay for items, buy things, there's an economy there for that token, which gives it more utility, in my opinion. It's not just a metaverse or a company that's just like building this kind of unique virtual world. So for me, there's kind of like multiple facets that I looked at when I picked Sandbox, and it really came down to its utility and then the long-term vision, and that's why I kind of settled on that for the bear market.
Yeah, I'm definitely bullish on like Sandbox and Decentraland long term. I just kind of like the whole space like in totality is still not there, like developed wise. I've gone on to Sandbox and like you walk around in this 3D kind of virtual world for a little bit, then I'm like, I'm bored. I can't really do much. I'm out. Like I see it's gonna be a long. I don't know. I don't. I'm not
We
that
are so
attracted or
early.
enthused about it yet.
We are so early inside of the metaverse, and that's another reason why like I wanted to pick this is because we are so early. There has been a lack of development, I think, overall in the space. They kind of released some of these products, and it's like you haven't seen it move as quick as other sectors like DeFi, like maybe the NFT space. And so that's where I think it's like now is kind of this time where you need to kind of observe, see what happens, pay attention to some of their developments, and then kind of pick up on some of these trends. Any further questions for
Definitely observing.
my three picks? What's that?
Definitely observing, Ben. Definitely.
Observe away, Sam. Observe away. All right. Great cross questioning today, guys. I got to say, that was excellent. Folks, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm going to hawk the chat real quick. Looks like Parrish is asking, when do you expect a bear market? Why don't we answer this one real quick, and then we can move into Jordan's segment.
We're in one.
Go look at the
Very
chart.
true.
Like we've been in like a bearish market since like March of last year. We just don't like to think about it.
I think
First
so.
step is admitting it.
That's right. Also, don't forget to drop your Twitter handle in the chat because we're giving away that 1 month subscription to Markets Pro. We're going to be giving you the 2 tokens you should have been watching. But now I want to get Jordan into this. So he's going to give us some of his hot picks to pay attention to during a bear market. So Danilo, let's go ahead and jump into Jordan's segment for today.
All right, so the three tokens that I picked this week to cover are Algorand, DeFi Chain, and the Graph. I chose Algorand just because, like, in the layer one field, it's kind of been consistently a good platform for its low transaction fees, high speeds, and stuff like that. And just again, I like looking for trends that are happening in the background. And there's some low key adoption going on with the Algorand blockchain, as far as even like bigger companies that actually want to have securities that launch on stock markets. One of the biggest things that pointed out to me was when the Exodus wallet, one of the most popular wallets in the cryptocurrency space, actually launched its Exit token on top of the Algorand blockchain. They're in the know when it comes to what's what in blockchain. And for them to pick Algorand was a big sign of validation for me. As again, stealth adoption by a lot of registered companies. I've seen several real estate focused projects that are talking about real estate, the tokenization of real estate, houses, and stuff like that are operating on top of Algorand. I think they liked the low fee nature of it, and it's got a little bit more adoption, and the government kind of approves it from what I've seen so far. It hasn't seen any real major network outages like other platforms have, and it's a really simplified staking experience. You buy it, transfer the Algorand to your wallet, and it starts staking right away, no extra steps. And again, a lot of my theme for bear markets is dividend paying tokens where you get money back. Second one I chose for that is DeFi Chain. It's a DeFi specifically focused on DeFi blockchain network that actually started with a focus on the Bitcoin community, which is, like Sam mentioned, is one of the it's obviously the biggest cryptocurrency in the space. And they've consistently been climbing the charts in terms of total value locked over the past year, despite like the cratering of the whole DeFi market. Same with its price. It shot up early in last year to about $3.40, I believe, and now it's still trading at $3.60. So it's held its value throughout the whole year. It didn't go up a whole bunch. So again, DeFi or bear market investing, consistent price. I haven't lost a lot of value for what I have bought with it. It's what I like about it. You can earn 34% for staking your DFI tokens on Cake DeFi. And yeah, again, it's a really good solid pick for the DeFi ecosystem, in my opinion. The last one I chose is the Graph. But data and oracles will always be an important sector of the market. We are in this transition to Web3, and data is an important part. The Graph makes it easy for some companies to kind of get their data onto a blockchain type setting. They even have grants that kind of facilitate this process and kind of get them into the blockchain ecosystem, which is what Web3 is, the internet with blockchain infrastructure. And so data and oracles are going to be really big in that regard. And I think the Graph is one of the top projects approaching that and offering something new. And you can earn up to 96% delegating your GRT to an indexer on the platform. So again, ways to earn money on the side. Bam! Oh,
Wow. Nick of time. He got it right in the nick of time. So, all right, Jordan, I want to know, I have a question for you. I'm going to jump in here first. The Graph, what is the difference between like that and a chain link? It's bringing like news, real world data into like the blockchain digital world. Is that the big distinguisher for the Graph?
Yeah, and I have to get more educated on the technical differences. They also have subgraphs, a lot of subgraphs. Just yeah, I'm even starting to confuse it with an article I wrote earlier today on Origin Trail. I'm like, wait, that's different data. But yeah, it's a different process, but another way for helping integrate data into the whole of the ecosystem. I don't know if I have enough knowledge on it to give you a good answer to that, though.
Sam and Marcel, you guys want to jump in here? You're muted,
You're
Marcel.
muted, Marcel.
Muted. My boy's muted.
Working now?
There you go. He's live.
Okay. So I love the idea about getting a dividend, and Algorand is definitely getting traction. But on a bear market, shouldn't we be getting more safe options? As you said, the Graph or Maker or Chainlink. I mean, coins that can post gains even if the total market cap goes a little bit down.
Yeah, that in theory, that's a good idea. For me, like part of the reason I chose Algorand because it hasn't had the big blow off price movements as some of the other ones, so it might be a little bit more safe in that regard. It's not going to shoot up to $10 and drop back down to 50 cents. I think it got up to like the mid 250, and now it's changing. I think around 50 cents. I have to kind of check that to be sure. But just for me, it's been a consistent. It's been there. I see adoption happening. That makes it safer in the long run. To see companies that have millions of dollars in backing launching on Algorand and wanting to launch actual stock tokens on top of the Algorand network, to me, it makes it a safer long-term play. So I accumulate during the bull markets when the prices kind of stabilize or down.
Yeah, I mean, Algorand is the little engine that could, and it's been around for a while now. And as soon as I forget about it, oh look, here's another 9-figure grant fund program for projects launching on Algorand. Then you forget about it for a while, and oh look, former Citibanker has launched a $1.5 billion fund, and he's tapped Algorand as being the main partner. Oh look, we just saw Grayscale launch a new fund for ETH competitors, and Algo is part of that fund, right? So it's been a very interesting project because it does fly under the radar, but it's been there all along, and it has real world utility. And it seems like legitimate people are coming on, and they're building financialized products, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. It's like this low key adoption. There should be a lot more press about all this. Like so many big names are backing Algorand, and it's just like nobody talks about it. And like I've said it before, like
so true.
They're like Ethereum needs layer 2, and there's all these layer 2 and all these Algorand. It's a layer 1 that you can just build on it, and it doesn't need any other layers. And I think that's more in the future. Those are going to be more valuable chains because they don't need extra layers or extra things developed to make them better. Like you say, Sam, it's the little engine that could. I've asked you, I've asked multiple people, like, have you heard of any major problems or outages on Algorand? And there's issues with maybe the treasury or the control of the token supply and stuff like that, which they're dealing with. But as far as the technology and the network goes, it's solid.
I was going to say, I feel like Algorand is just a slow burn. And you kind of hear more and more of what they're doing and the legitimacy of some of these partnerships, like Sam mentioned with the former Citibanker, stuff like that. I think Algorand's a strong pick, but I also want to know, like DeFi chain, I'm not even sure if I've heard of that. I mean, I love DeFi, but what's up with DeFi chain? Like, where do you think the most value is with DeFi chain in itself?
I just like it because it's a chain that's only focused on working on DeFi. It's not trying to get into other sectors of the market and complicate matters. It's just, and it started with trying to offer a yield for Bitcoin. It even has Dash on there and DeFi chain, and it's more low key proof of work chains, but it's a simplified DeFi chain that has held its value and actually climbed in terms of total value locked over the past year while the whole DeFi sector kind of tanked. And that's without its price moving up a whole bunch. So you noted that the TVL didn't come from its own tokens being staked on the platform and jumping up in price. So it just seems like a solid long-term pick for me.
It's interesting to see kind of like the specialization of each chain too, specifically DeFi chain, but it also sounds like, Algorand is starting to kind of specialize in its own way. So great picks this week, Jordan. I guess we will let the crowd decide today how good these picks were. Folks, I'm going to check the chat again. We got Vikram chiming in. Don't forget to drop your Twitter handle in, folks. It's an easy bucket. It's a 1-month free subscription of Markets Pro. We're going to be giving that away. Make sure you chime in with your Twitter handle. We appreciate you all tuning in for today's show. Also, like and subscribe to Cointelegraph. Hello. We're here Tuesdays, normally at 12 p.m. Eastern. Today we had to make some adjustments, so thanks for the flexibility. We're going to be releasing live poll here shortly. Marcel, what's up?
I think whoever shielded Monero deserves the prize, because the last time I heard about this coin was 2 years ago.
Whoever shielded Monero, yeah, that's good. This guy right here shielded it. Proud of it too. Privacy, centralization. My bags. They're mine. No one knows about them. No one needs to know about them.
They're dead. Monero is like, what, 20 years old? Monero is from the 80s or whatever. It doesn't even exist anymore.
Hey, Marcel, watch out. You're getting into like, I'm an altcoin person. You Bitcoin maximalist. Bitcoin maximalist is going to pick Monero just because they're the OG coins. And that's why Benson's over here like, But what about Secret? Because that's the future. Like we could totally see the different like generations of crypto here. You two, you guys are like the old school. Me and Ben are like altcoins, layer two.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, folks, we're going to jump into some Markets Pro here to tell you the two tokens you should have watched based on the Newsquake and Vortex alerts. So, Danilo, let's go ahead and jump into Markets Pro this week. Newsquake alert. Yeah, that's right. You heard it. BuySwap trading under the ticker BSW. We saw Newsquake this week, and if you're not familiar with Newsquakes, they're what moved the market. Newsquake services brought to you by CT Markets Pro helps traders stay on top of important developments. So Newsquakes are automated alerts that instantly notify users when market moving events happen. That's what happened this week on March the 22nd. Danilo, let's pull up this chart. The news of BSW's upcoming listing on Binance was announced. In a tweet, Markets Pro folks were notified within milliseconds. That's right. The token was trading at 35 cents minutes before the news broke and spiked all the way up to $1.08 within 4 hours of the announcement. That's a 208% increase. That's redonkulous. Look at that chart. You see the bottom line, red circle. That's your Newsquake. That price spike is why you get Markets Pro. Hopefully you were able to get in on this trade this week. The next token we're going to highlight for this week is based on the Vortex score. So for those, Jordan brought this up earlier, Origin Protocol trading on the ticker OGN. A Vortex score is a comparison between its current market conditions and social conditions of those in the past. Vortex score of 80, you see here, is confidently bullish. Now, when we saw this 82 pop up, the score exploded on March 18th after the initial price pump that you see there on the chart, and it quickly reached an ultra high value of 90 against a price plateau, signaling the possibility of further upside. When you see those 80s on the Vortex score, folks, alarm bells should start going off. So sure enough, the second leg followed as the token approached 54 all the way up to 78 cents in less than 5 hours. Now, 17 hours later, OGN's price rally saw another phase, the token's price reaching 82 cents. Although it cooled off somewhat as today, the coin's Vortex score remains hot, suggesting that conditions are ripe for even further price action. So you may actually have an opportunity to catch another leg up with Origin Protocol. Just take a look. It's in a book. It's in the Markets Pro Rainbow. All right, I didn't mean to rhyme that, but I did. So, folks, that's why you want Markets Pro. So drop in your 1 month, your Twitter handle so you can get the 1 month subscription. We're going to be giving that away at the end of the show here. I think we're going to drop in a poll next, and this is going to get to settle today's presentation about what tokens you should be buying during a bear market. But in the interim, go ahead and vote in that live poll. I want to talk about a quick hot topic. We saw this ApeCoin go down the other day, the airdrop of the century. I'm curious to know, what is the value of ApeCoin? Why was this so significant? And is this hype or is this for real? What is our take here on ApeCoin, guys? Marcel, why don't you jump in first?
Well, I think if you dig NFTs, and if you think that the Bored Apes and those companies behind it are going to create an ecosystem, maybe buy some land on the metaverse or give you some freebies at stadiums or concerts or whatever, if there's an ecosystem being formed around those apes, then the token will hold value. But right now, it seems too premature to bet on it, especially if it's trading above $2 or $3 billion of market capitalization. So it seems like an odd bet from me, risky.
Sam, Jordan?
Yeah. I personally don't like jumping on new projects like this. I think just the popularity of the Bored Apes franchise over the last year helped drive it. I do think that long term there might be some play there just because look at some of the people that have gotten involved with it. You got like Eminem, really well-known stars buying Bored Apes. People, even like companies, large-scale companies, got auctions going on Sotheby's. So you're going to have actual million-dollar companies, billion-dollar companies, famous influencers owning these. So that to me says they might actually build out an ecosystem around it just because there's so much money and well-known people involved with the space. So long term, like it's of most of the NFT projects, it's probably got the best chance of actually having an ecosystem develop around it, just because so much money and large scale influencers are already involved with it. But right now, like I wouldn't be surprised if it dips back down to $5 just because what's the value proposition currently, you know?
So we've rallied thousands of percent in a few days, and you still think you're early, Anon? No, you're not early. You're not early. Walk away. Wait for the dust to settle, okay? That's all the attention I'm giving to this thing right now. That's all I
Wow.
got.
Wow, Sam is not a believer. I think for me, what I saw was the potential of the metaverse platform, the other side, which I seem to think is going to be that next big evolution for Bored Ape Yachts. So I'm assuming that this ape coin or mutant coins, all these kind of coins, will have some sort of interface with that metaverse. I'm a believer, guys. I think this is hype right now. I think you could potentially see a big market dump, but those Bored Ape Yacht Club owner are incentivized to hold this to utilize it inside of the ecosystem. So I think there is a little bit of a wait and see game. We'll probably see some dumps at some point. But I mean, I would tend to believe that, like Jordan said, because of who actually owns a lot of these tokens, you're going to see the real world, I guess, really kind of come together inside of this metaverse platform with some really, really big names. So I wouldn't be surprised if this sticks around and is not hype. I see people chiming in on chat. Wrong again says hype. We see other folks in there saying speculators. Always speculating. Well, we'll find out. All right. I think the poll is
for
closed. Good.
For crypto friends, like just go look at every token that got released and pumped really quick. It does this cool little mountain design, like like if you like the project, put it on your watch list and be patient, okay? Be patient. Don't FOMO.
Words of wisdom. And folks, the poll just closed. I think Sam came home with the victory today with 51% of the votes, a unanimous voting today. I guess folks like the OG coins in the crowd
Like
today. So fair enough, Sam. All right, why don't we do some closing thoughts here, fellas? Sam, I'll let you kick it off since you won our poll today with our audience. You've won the hearts and minds of our viewers today.
Well, I mean, you saw with my picks, not the most shiny, exciting picks, but in a bear market, you want to try to select companies or projects that actually have some utility and value proposition, and I think all of us did that today. I just think it's really important to kind of get some exposure to Bitcoin, anybody that's actually developing ecosystems around Bitcoin. And there's a lot of opportunities out there, but bear markets are where the money is made. If you can buy low and you can hold value plays, eventually, if you're patient enough and you don't degen and just ape into something or ape out of it, you'll do very well in the long run.
Jordan, any
No pun
closing
intended
thoughts?
on the ape bit. Yeah, we are when are we in a bear? We're in a bear market right now, folks. Could we go lower? Then most definitely. Could we go higher? Yeah, eventually. Like dollar cost averaging is the name of my game when it's like this. Find projects you like slowly over time. Don't FOMO into shit that runs really quick because it's gonna pull back again. It's just the nature of the game. So yeah, just patience, dollar cost averaging, and try to have fun in life too. You know.
Marcel, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, first I want to highlight to the audience to drop their Twitter handles because we're going to give away a month's subscription of CT Pro, and I'm going to be at the M&A on Discord for CT Pro tomorrow, exclusive with me. You're going to shout all of your questions on derivatives. I'll be answering them tomorrow afternoon on the CT Pro Discord platform. And I just want to remind everyone that the opinions shown here on this show are our own personal opinions. So don't take them for granted. Do your own study, your own analysis. Don't believe on any influencer, even us.
That's exactly right. Marcel makes a great point. All points taken. I forgot we need to pick our winner for today. guys, who do we want to pick for our CT Markets Pro winner this week? I'm seeing
Not the guy who
Ben
dissed me,
P.
that's for sure.
Sam, you got some haters out there today.
Yeah, that's okay.
Let's see. I think Ben P. So Ben, let me see here. Ben Deguzpiskor 1. We're gonna select you as our winner today. So congratulations on winning our 1 month free subscription to Markets Pro. And just to reiterate the point, these are our express personal opinions. They are not financial advice. We appreciate everyone for tuning in today, and congrats to Ben P for winning that 1 month subscription to Markets Pro. We hope that pays dividends for you. Make sure you're tuning in to Marcel tomorrow at that AMA on the Discord. Thank you all for joining. This has been an awesome episode of the Market Report, and we can't wait to see you again next week. Thank you for jumping in. Great show today, guys.
Thanks, guys.